Power creep is probably one of the most controversial things inside of MOBAs, but it seems to be a consistent trend inside of Pokemon Unite. Every new release, you can always count on these things: strong stats, an overloaded kit, or just like a Pokemon that's dominating the meta and leaves all the older Pokemon like struggling to keep up. Yeah, having like these new releases and stuff keeps these games feeling fresh because there's always something new to adjust to, but is it really necessary? First question I ask when it comes down to power creeping is like, why does power creep happen? It happens so developers can keep the game fresh and engaging. The more newer the game feels, the more changes that the game has, it makes people want to come and play the game, right? So like, let's say we're staying in the same stale meta. For example, Mewtwo Y meta made a lot of people quit. Zacian meta made a lot of people quit to the point people went on strike. Even though we do have like these overpowered broken meta Pokemon, as long as they're not running around for too long, I think it's fine personally. Because what this does when we have like the strong Pokemon changing up every single patch update, it makes consumers spend more money, which keeps the games alive and allows the development of new content. Another question I ask myself is, can power creeping be avoided? Power creeping can be avoided, but it's already tied too deep into the game's model. So like there's been so many like times where every new release, like Suicune, Phalanx was overpowered on release, Blaziken got buffed after release. All these Pokemon that were like, let's say they're quote unquote meh at release, they always ended up getting buffed simply because they were the new release, and Pokemon needed to make money to keep more people playing the game. Can it be minimized? I think it can be minimized in like multiple different ways, but I think the most viable one is just introducing new meta counters instead of just keep on releasing overpowered ones, and then also giving us like smaller and more frequent balance patches. When we would just keep on releasing broken Pokemon after broken Pokemon after broken Pokemon, this game is just, like I said, it's relying off of the power creeping rather than the actual skill. So it's like, as long as you farm up and as long as you get your levels, your moveset will be able to win you the game, like just straightforward. And I always found that there was a problem with them not releasing meta counters, because it's like, we'll have a broken Pokemon release, but then the next release isn't anything to do to counter them. But the only way that it does, quote unquote, counter them is by overbuffing its stats, so that way it's stronger than them. I don't think that's healthy for the game. I don't think it's a good game design, but hey, it's working for Pokemon Unite and people are still playing. Even with like the, the new items. So on top of having new Pokemon when they're like overbuffed on release, now we have these items like Cell Bracer and Drive Lens, which arguably add on to the power creep problem. We already got speedster buffs, we got damage penetration added to the game, and now we're adding another stacking item that stacks off of kills and assists and doesn't reset off death. And the scaling is percentage based. I feel like if we're gonna have like these power scaling items or these power creep items, that they should just make them like a flat number base rather than making them percentage based. I do feel like if they stop releasing overpowered mons as well from the start, it would lead to like a loss of money, which means that we would get slower updates. Let's say Zacian, or let's say Raichu's a bust on release, right? We had all these last few releases where they're overpowered, strong, crazy, dominating meta, and then let's say Raichu releases and now it's just the average Pokemon. This is going to leave the player base to feel like disappointed, to feel lied to, because the consistent trend is to drop overpowered mons, not underwhelming ones. So if tons of people are spending money on the game to get this Raichu, they better be overpowered. It better feel like it's pay to win, especially because they're buying it before it's available for the rest of the community, you know? Is avoiding power creeping realistic? No, it's not. Why? Like I said, because it's already tied down to the Pokemon Unite's model and how they make money. It's a free game on mobile. It's a free game on Switch. You have to understand, like, hey, they got to make some type of profit off of this game for them to keep it running, which includes gem locking releases, leaving mons locked behind events, like the little dice roll. And if you notice, like, every single time that they do those, like, they're normally successful. They're normally pretty successful because people enjoy the cosmetics. People enjoy having things early. People enjoy having things exclusive to, like, compare to other people who can't have them. Other MOBAs tend to have power creeping better because they're a lot more slower pace within their gameplay, and they get a lot more consistent updates regarding like balance changes. They get more reworks. If something's not being used, it gets reworked. If something's being underused, it's going to get buffed. The more losses that one will take in Pokemon Unite, the more likely they are to leave the game, quit the game, etc., etc. They have to release these power creep mons to make it a lot easier for the people that don't know how to like win or play the game as well, for them to win and feel the chance of what it feels like to get W as well. If they just suddenly stopped power creeping and removed it from Pokemon Pokemon Unite, I feel it would give players no reason to spend money on the game simply because the fact that the game is built off of power creeping. It forces players to adapt between new releases, balance patches, and buffs and nerfs. It's going to shake up the meta, and it keeps the meta fresh, especially when we have new releases. I feel like Pokemon Unite tends to drop a balance patch sometime like a week before or a week after. That way it adjusts the meta to the new release that's coming out. That way everybody's shifts the way that they play, shifts the Pokemon that they play. Obviously, you're going to have those stragglers that still play those their favorite Pokemon because they love their favorite Pokemon, but you're not going to be playing the same thing over and over and over again, which I think is healthy for the game because, like I said, Zacian meta for 3 months, Zacian Comfy. It also encourages older Pokemon to get buffs and reworks. For example, we got damage penetration recently on Speedsters, and we got it on Cinderace. Another Pokemon that also got a buff or rework in the past was Charizard. Charizard used to evo at level 10. Unite move used to get canceled by almost everything in the game, and they gave it a rework to where now you could use Charizard ult on. For a little bit, we were able to Charizard ult unstoppable targets, which is kind of broken. Honestly, I don't blame Unite for knowing its player base and knowing its clientele and knowing its customers. They don't really care for the people that are complaining on Twitter. They more care for the people that are actually playing their game often and consistently. There's more players playing the game than there are players complaining on Twitter, believe it or not. You just gotta make sure that we open up these surveys that they put out in the game and the surveys that they put out on their social media, and that's where we need to be sending our complaints to rather than on social media, YouTube videos, etc., etc. I don't feel like their company watches their content. I don't feel like their company plays their game. I don't feel like they do anything regarding Pokemon Unite outside of just giving it its balanced updates and such and making its new releases, developing the game, you know? I hope Pokemon Unite can find a way to make a balance for this power creep. It does help the game. It does help keep the game alive. What do you think is a problem in Pokemon Unite? Let me know down in the comments, and we'll catch you later.